All right, this is my audience. Again, my audience. Back up. Video. Okay. Thank you all for joining me today. Today we are going to learn how to make an all-natural lotion. The recipe was found online by Wellness Mama. I want to give her credit. M-A-M-A, Wellness Mama. I do have a few little tweaks that work better for me, as we'll find out in this demonstration. All right, so when I became a mom, the whole world got a whole lot bigger. My first son, Elijah, ended up putting everything in his mouth. Everything was too small, too big, too hazardous, too poisonous. So I wanted to find out what different things I could do to make our home a more healthful, more natural one in that kind of way. So, I'm sorry. When I researched making different soaps and oils and things, my second child came along, and usually they get the short end of the stick. They end up, eating things off the floor, eating glue, eating dirt. You don't care. They eat out of the garbage can because why wouldn't it taste good the second time around? And that kind of seems to be the let it slide mentality of the second child. Sorry for all of you who are second children. So at a very young age, when Boaz was just a few months old, he ended up developing eczema, really bad eczema. It would leave his skin like alligator skin. It would be peeling, cracking, bleeding, and we were just helpless to try to find something to give him some sort of relief. The doctor gave us a few steroid creams, well, a couple. The second one ended up being something that gave him a little bit of relief, but we didn't want to continually use something as strong as steroids for our child, for his baby skin, Our first son had that sweet kissable baby skin, and we just wanted that for our second son as well, to not be in that kind of pain. So I'm excited to share with you why and demonstrate how to make your own natural homemade lotions, and discuss some of these ingredients and tools that you probably have in your own kitchen at home. And they're also pretty easy to find if you don't. In a glass bowl, serving as a double boiler. If you have a double boiler, that's fantastic. If you don't, I would use just some sort of sturdy pot that can hold a glass bowl. And you'll put just a few inches of water in there. You don't want the water to run out, so pay attention to how much you have in the bottom. And then you're going to put your bowl on top, and you will measure the oils that we discuss here, and you will put them in here. Now, one thing I will say is she has us measuring in cups here. I would say if you're going to do that, get something handy like this that you can just shoot those butters out of, because it can be very difficult trying to scrape everything out of measuring cups. But the best way, if you have a home scale, like food scale at home in the kitchen, this is perfect. You just get one bowl dirty, you measure everything on here, put it in, put it on, and you're good to go. One bowl dirty, good to go. So, first ingredient we'll start off with is shea butter. This is one of the most healing ingredients that we'll talk about here that I have. It's native to Africa. It comes from the shea tree or carite tree, which means tree of life, which I enjoyed that. It does, grade A shea butter can aid in curing conditions such as blemishes, eczema, psoriasis, sunburn, skin allergies, and also boost collagen. Now, if you do not get raw or unrefined shea butter, it will not have any of these healing qualities, but will still have the properties of moisturizing like coconut oil or coconut butter, but just not healing properties that we talked about, which are why I'm using them for my son Boaz to heal his eczema. It can also repair damage of UV radiation, as well as has cinnamic acid, which is closely related to cinnamon, and also contains a caffeic acid, I believe. Caffeic acid, and also has those healing properties as well. This is a healthy fat and not commonly known. Shea butter is used in chocolate sometimes instead of cocoa butter, and y'all probably didn't even notice the difference. So, let's see, shea butter has a 0 out of 5. Oh, let me pass this around, by the way. This is the shea tree and the shea nut. I want you to see that. And if you feel so inclined to check out shea butter in its raw form, please go ahead. There are some wipes on the table if y'all need those. This was the shea butter. And it is a 0 out of 5 on the comedogenic scale, meaning that if you put it on your face or your skin, it's not pore clogging. 5 is like completely pore clogging, 0 is not at all. And up to about 2, they say, is good for cosmetics because it's not going to clog your pores. Whereas cocoa butter and a few of the other ones are 2 out of 5. All right, now at this point, we're going to let the mixture cool slightly after, it takes about 20-ish minutes. And you're also going to want to use a wooden spoon, silicone, or metal. I wouldn't use plastic because you don't want any of those chemicals to leach into your natural lotion that we're using here. But make sure that they're long enough that you don't end up, like this is long enough, make sure you don't burn yourself with that steam. Make sure, stay away from the steam, oil is hot, it will burn you. Just everyone be careful when you're doing this. Keep small children away. But they can't eat it, and they will. All right, so we're gonna also, after we take it off and let it cool for a little bit, we're gonna put it in the fridge. And she says to let it cool for about an hour, but I would say about 3 until it gets to the point where it's starting to harden, but not very hard, a little bit soft as well. So then another butter that we're going to be using is cocoa butter. This comes from the cacao tree, which is also called Theobroma cacao, meaning food of the gods. It's called cacao before it's processed and cocoa after. And how they process the bean is they ferment it first and then they roast it. And this also helps stabilize it and give the butter a much longer shelf life, longer than olive oil, which is just like 6 months. This can last about 2 years. So give or take, just make sure it's not spoiling on you. So the fats in the butter are resistant to oxidation also, which helps it last longer. Next, after this is cooled, and this is what it will look like. I need to be passing these things around. That's what it should look like when you, this consistency of it before you want to mix it. Also, let me let you look at the cocoa butter as well. These are this is the cacao tree and the cacao pods. The beans are inside, but they're just not processed yet. And cocoa butter. And you can eat all of these things. They're all natural, unprocessed, good for your skin, good for your body. And then also we all know what coconut oil, and all coconut oil, we would use the hand mixer. We're going to use the hand mixer after it's cooled, and you're going to, for about 10 minutes, make it light and fluffy. And it takes about 10 minutes, and it will get a little bit bigger, so just make sure your bowl is a little bit bigger than the amount of oil that you have. And then it becomes this silky, luxurious lotion that we have here. And you're going to want to let it set for about 10 or 15 more minutes in the fridge before you use it again, and it should stay that consistency. Now, if you find that your home is a little bit more warm, it will melt. You can just keep it in the fridge, but it will stay silky smooth. All right. So coconut oil, a fun fact about coconut oil is in 1878 in January, about 20,000 coconuts came from the Caribbean island Trinidad and were brought to Cuba to put on a brig to take to Spain. But the ship wrecked in southern Florida, and that's where our coconuts come today, in southern Florida. That's how they ended up there. It's high in saturated fats, medium chain fatty acids. It is likened to mother's milk. Actually, it has the same kind of chemicals and makeup that mother's milk does, which I found pretty interesting. It's also been used in India for decades to help hair growth and prevent hair whitening, to keep it black. I'd like to look more into that because that sounds pretty great. It can also fight oral thrush. It can fight Candida albicans, which is a vaginal yeast infection, which makes it great for a diaper rash cream. You can prevent the bacteria that way, as well as nail infections, intestinal roundworms, and parasites, which I would consult your doctor first before just going straight for coconut oil, but it does have all of these wonderful properties. It also lowers bad cholesterol, reduces and aids in digestion, proper insulin secretion, and boosts testosterone by reducing oxidative stress. So again, we're going to want to store this in a glass jar, and then just make sure, like I said, if you need to keep it in the refrigerator, you can do that, not a problem. Some lesser known oils that we have here that we're using, not that you don't know what olive oil is, but you might not always know that it's used in beauty products. So we have the olive oil here, jojoba, which was in one of the coconut oils that I used, and almond oil. And so here is the jojoba tree and the jojoba seed pod. And I don't have that separately here, but it is kind of like the almond oil that I'll pass around. And then here is the almond oil as well, and this is an almond that's growing on an almond tree. It almost looks like the Bradford pears that we have here in Tennessee. All right. Like I said before, these are also rated on the comedogenic scale 2 out of 5, so they're still good for beauty products and cosmetics. Olive oil. Wars were actually fought over olive oil. It was known as liquid gold. I found that to be interesting. And also a good source of vitamin E. Jojoba is closest to the makeup of our body's own sebum, which helps it to be used for kids like Boaz, because if they have sensitive skin, it's good for that. Jojoba is native to northern Mexico and southwestern USA, and benefits they also have for skin and hair. And almond oil is native to the Middle East and northern Africa, and also a good source of vitamin E. Used to treat psoriasis, eczema, reduce swelling, things like that. So great ingredient for our lotion here today. Some final thoughts. I would, just like I said before, make sure that you sanitize these jars, because we don't want bacteria to grow. Make sure they're dry. Water does breed bacteria. Make sure your hands are clean and dry if you're going to stick them in there, and take the lotion out, or use a clean utensil. You can also, some do use natural preservatives. Some are grapefruit seed extract, vitamin E as well, and rosemary oil, all natural. I don't have them. Some of them can be a little bit pricey. You want to make sure you get the grade that you need for beauty products. So, but you can use those, and that can prolong the shelf life as well of your lotion. I thought I knew so much about these ingredients, and I will actually let you guys pass around some of these finished jars here, just so you can see what we've been working on. And I thought I knew so much about these ingredients, and then writing the speech, I learned that I did not know nearly as much as I thought I did. I learned that continued exposure to artificial skincare products that have artificial products in there, and fragrances as opposed to essential oils, can lead to a buildup of toxin levels, which can create hormone imbalances, irregular periods, testosterone, lower testosterone levels, infertility, and even cancer. And I have cancer, kidney disease, high blood pressure, bad cholesterol, all runs in my family, so this is something that became a lot more important to me after researching this, interestingly enough. So I'm more motivated more than ever now to just make our home a more healthy and natural one. Thank you for coming.